Tonight on Joy News Prime, details of MP's car loan agreement indicate the state will pay more than half of the loan amount as well as the interest that will accrue over the tenure. But some MPs say it still places a burden on them.
This car loan given to you, you must know that you are paying for it. You are buying your own fuel. You are doing your own maintenance. Nobody will give you maintenance fee. At the end of the day, you are paying the driver. So which is better? I will go for total rejection of the loan.
We'll also bring you fresh details on the presidential spouse's salary, which will see a first lady earn as much as 33,000 cedis a month. Former President John Mahama, in an article posted on his website, though disagree with the payment of salaries to spouses of the president and his vice. We'll tell you what his thoughts are. Also in this bulletin, President Akufo-Addo has been speaking at the commissioning of the Pokuase interchange, saying the governing NPP is a better protector of the public purse.
Akufo-Addo government to construct 3 interchanges. That is at Pokuase, Obechebilamte, and Tamale, as opposed to 260 million United States dollars being used by the Mahama government.
And family of one of the casualties in the recent disturbances at Ejura say carry out their plan B to boycott the committee probing the deaths.
So we are of the view that we will not appear because our testimonies there will be used against us in the law court. So this is the main reason why we are not appearing before the commission.
We'll also have an exclusive interview with the brother of the slain activist Ibrahim Kaaka. In business, a state of emergency, that's how stakeholders in the export and import business describe high shipping charges.
Count all God-given days with no recourse to the legal application smacks of every other thing but fairness. It should be noted that the shipping lines do not work on weekends.
No, freight charges are expected to go up again in 2 weeks, and it's already impacting goods on the local market. And the police, MTTD and DVLA have been out and about arresting motorists with fake insurance and roadworthy certificates, among other infractions.
Okay, so are you ready to face the consequences of that? Oh, driving with an expired DP?
Bro.
Yes, we are processing you for court for driving with an expired DP.
Oh, grab penny.
Okay.
My name is Ibrahim. Joy News Prime is coming to you live from our studios in Kokomlemle on your digital terrestrial TV, because we are free to air on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144. This is your home of independent, fearless, credible and impactful journalism. Do stay tuned in for the details. Many thanks for choosing us. Some MPs have defended government's decision to absorb up to 60% of the car loans being given members of the 8th Parliament. Deputy Finance Minister Abnose Asari laid a paper on the floor of the House requesting approval of the facility this week. Details from the document show government will on a monthly basis pay up to 60% of the loan amount, with the rest deducted from the MP salaries each month. Government will also absorb the full interest on the loan, while the tax on the vehicle will also be waived. Parliamentary correspondent Joseph Akable has been speaking with MPs about the controversial loan and joins me in the studio. Now, MPs must be excited to have access to a car loan that's also interest-free.
In fact, a lot of them say that is something that they are very much aware of, that they are good with in terms of it being interest-free and all. But they insist that they are surprised that that's actually the situation. In fact, the point they make is that a lot of them hadn't seen this report, the latest report having to do with the Intiama Bedu Committee's report that was approved by the House. Funny enough, they sat in a meeting of a committee of the whole, went through the deliberations and went ahead to approve that of the executive. And the indication was that discussions were held in relation to that having to do with their parliamentarians, although it's the executive arm of government that approved that of parliament. But they say some of these provisions are things that they are not aware of. They hadn't seen the report on their own. A lot of them are hesitant about having further conversations about this. They make the point that they were expecting that, particularly with this loan, they would be paying it back in full. So even the 60% bit is something that they are finding, and they've not been aware of it for all this while. One of them have actually been speaking to us, Kwame Gakwe, who is the MP for the Keta constituency. He makes the point that even this provision with the 40% of it being paid by them is a burden that government should lift off them one way or the other.
Okay, I think we should listen to Kwame Gakwe.
They give them car. The car, they fuel it, they are entitled to driver, and then maintenance are all borne by the state. So they should procure 275 vehicles, assign drivers, fuel it, do maintenance, and then assign to members of parliament to use. At the end of the day, when we are going, we leave it as how ministries and departments and government offices run, because this is a part of governance. But this car loan given to you, you must know that you are paying for it. You are buying your own fuel. You are doing your own maintenance. Nobody will give you maintenance fee. At the end of the day, you are paying the driver. So which is better? I will go for total rejection of the loan and then go for the routine running of government, have to procure and distribute and then maintain.
The criticism is that if it's coming at an interest-free rate, there is tax exemption on it. You are reading documents that say MPs may end up paying back only about 40 or 60% and not that fully the amount to be paid back. Isn't that still too much burden that has been placed on the taxpayer, as is being argued by a lot of campaigners on social media?
It is rather government placing a burden on the MPs. It's a burden on the MPs. We are paying for maintenance. You are paying for the driver, you are buying fuel. So that is why I'm saying I'm not interested in the car loan given to MPs. We are interested in government providing vehicle for MPs to use and pay for it, fuel it, pay for the drivers, as well as pay for maintenance of the car.
My last question would be, for those who are criticizing this, the activists criticizing this on social media and all, what do you say to them?
I'm saying they say lack of knowledge, my people perish. Maybe they need education about the whole thing. And then it's a loan. It's a loan package for MPs. It's not free. I get in the point. It's not totally free that people think it's a free thing they are giving to MPs. It's not free. But for me, my candid opinion is that I'm not interested in a loan. If the government can do the needful and supplies vehicle, driver, fuel, maintenance, I will be glad to go. So that the money that they are deducting, I can pick that money. Whatever car I want to buy as an MP, I can buy my own car. But at the end of the day, official vehicles are given to us to run. Because the loan they give you is like a private vehicle you are using to for official work. And that is why I'm rejecting it.
Thank you.
So that's Kwame Gakwe, one of the MPs to benefit from these loans. But what has been the practice? Has government always absorbed 60% of the loan for the MPs?
From what the MPs tell us previously, all that has happened is they get a tax exemption on the facility, and additionally, they end up getting the interest rate on the amount not being paid by themselves, but by the state. And additionally, usually over the 4-year period, the currency depreciates, the cedi depreciates as against the dollar. You know, the amount is pegged in dollars, but it's actually paid back in cedi. So there is usually a huge difference by the end of the 4-year duration. So whatever difference that may be as well, government ends up paying it on behalf of the MPs. But they've insisted that in terms of the principal amount, as far as whatever they take as car loans are concerned, they end up paying that back fully, apart from those associated parts of it. Except that in this particular report by Professor Berry Ntiamwa, then the recommendation was made that apart from the other facilities like security that they got, the office accommodation, the residential accommodation allowance, which is around 20% of their salary, this component was introduced for themselves as well as members of the Council of State to then have up to 60% of the cost of the loan borne by the state.
Has the committee explained why that recommendation?
Well, we know that MPs have repeatedly agitated that they think it's unfair that they are being given loans in order to make use of the loans to then do official business. And so then they needed a facility that would allow them, for example, to have vehicles in Parliament that they can use and leave when they are exiting office. So it was more like a compromise position, which will then say, instead of maybe giving you vehicles like ministers of state, let's rather than pay back portions of the loan, so that then it cushions them a bit, because they've repeatedly agitated that they thought they were being treated very much unfairly compared to the judiciary and the executive arm of government.
Thankfully, we're joined by Dr. Rashid Rahman of the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs. Thank you so much, Doc, for your time. I'm sure you've been following the conversations about the MP's car loans. I'd first want to have your initial thoughts, and then we'll come to what is best practice.
Well, Aisha, good evening. My initial thought that, you know, this conversation, we've had it every 4 years since the beginning of the Fourth Republic. And, you know, my position on this has always been, you know, some of what have been echoed by the MP that you spoke to from Keta, as well as maybe some other members of Parliament. And look, if we say that our democratic practice is based on a government that stands on three arms or three legs, I mean, however we'll call it, the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature. You know, you go and look at the practice within the executive. I think from right from the lowest level, district chief executive, up to the Minister of State. You know, they are provided with vehicles to do their work. You go to the judiciary, it's the same thing. I think, to be honest with you, Parliament also deserves, you know, the same kind of support in order that honorable members can do their work. I mean, I know there are many who jump and start saying, you know, how about performance and so on. They are disappointed with performance of Parliament and so on. I think that's a separate conversation altogether. But we need to get this thing right. If a Minister of State will not take a loan to buy a car and do executive work, so must not an MP take a loan to buy a car and do legislative work.
Doc, so let's look at other jurisdictions. What pertains in other jurisdictions, do we know?
Yes, so what happens in other places, Aisha, and I think that this is where perhaps maybe our country would need to learn. Indeed, when you look at, you know, the practice in most countries on the continent, particularly you go down south, maybe to Southern Africa, I can cite the example of a parliament like Botswana. No MP is given any car. No MP is given any loan to buy a car. They have cars that are in the central pool in the Ministry of Transport or whatever ministry is responsible. And when committees have to go and do work, when MPs need cars, these cars are issued out to them. They go and do their work and they return them back to the pool. And I'm talking about, you know, ordinary cars, Kia, I mean, SUVs and so on, not this, you know, fuel guzzlers that we end up spending our money on as a country. And for me, you know, this even extends to the executive and to the legislature. We have no business, Aisha, providing 2-3 cars to all these, I mean, government officials as a country. We don't have the resources to do that. We really need to have take a second look at, I mean, this whole kind of arrangement about how our officials are transported and how they are facilitated, I mean, to do their work. I mean, it's not only Parliament. I think we need to extend it to other branches of government.
So your recommendation then is?
My recommendation is, honestly, I mean, for the MPs who are saying they are rejecting it, I think, for me, I support their position. I was really surprised to hear that, I mean, government is absorbing 50% of it. And so this is a significant improvement if you compare if Parliament to the previous Parliament. Because in the previous Parliament, I mean, government doesn't absorb any percentage of the loan. So this is a significant improvement. However, as the honorable member on your program said, I mean, they are still saddled with the burden of having to maintain, and so on and so forth. And if you permit me, you know, the weakest link in the three constitutionally mandated functions of Parliament is representation. We all complain we don't see our MPs and so on. I come from the north. I come from Salaga, and if my honourable member has to travel all the way from Accra to Salaga, I mean that is quite a distance, and I don't expect the MP to use her resources to come to the constituency to do constituency work. So I think we need to really have a conversation around this, and then extend that beyond this arm of government to other arms of government, so that as a country we ask ourselves, can we afford, to give vehicles to all our officials? If not, what mechanism can we use? Do we have it in a pool like happens in other countries? Or you even go to the advanced countries, you go to a place like Australia, even government ministers don't have cars. Again, it's in a pool. You go and take it, go and do your work. When you finish, you leave it there. Then if you want your personal car, that's your business. Go and take your money and buy your personal car.
Dr. Draman, stay on for me, because one other issue that has been generating controversy out there is, a committee report, the emoluments committee reports that has suggested that spouses of the president and the vice president will be paid salaries. Gakpo, tell us more about what the committee has been saying.
So let me quote the Professor Bedu Ntiama committee's report directly. It says, the administration of President Kufuor introduced the extension of courtesies, including the payment of monthly allowances to the spouses of former heads of states, presidents, vice presidents. Subsequent administrations have continued the gesture and even extended them to incumbent first ladies and second ladies. The gesture remains purely humanitarian to support and in some cases rehabilitate former first ladies who were evidently struggling to subsist. However, there is no legal basis for this support. Thus, the committee recommends that the support extended to these spouses, including the privileges, be regularized. That's actually what the committee's report says. And it says that they have accordingly included the allowances of these individuals in the recommendations as far as the privileges, the benefits, and the facilities of the president and the vice president are concerned. And just to jump onto the figures in a while, when it does the pegging, then it makes the point that for the spouse of the president, the committee's report says there will be the payment of a salary equivalent to a cabinet minister MP as it currently pertains. And then for the spouse of the vice president, then there will be the payment of a salary equivalent to a cabinet minister non-MP as currently pertains. And when you look at the figure from the general breakdown, for a cabinet minister MP, the figure in terms of the payment as at 2020 and beyond is actually 39,397, which would actually go to the first lady. And for the wife of the vice president, cabinet minister on MP, the figure in that regard is 32,832. So it's that said report from the emolument committee, which is actually being implemented now by the executive, as we've come to understand, even after Parliament approved it. The 7th Parliament approved it in January this year.
And this has generated a lot of controversies. Now, 2 suits have been filed against the government seeking to block the payments to the spouses, despite government's explanation that it was Parliament that approved what had been recommended by the committee. Meanwhile, former President John Mahama has written an article about the presidential spouse's salary, saying he disagrees. Joseph, what has he been saying?
He details why he thinks that it's not so much of a good idea. He describes it as unfortunate, actually, and he says it's an attempt to pay the first lady and wife of vice president salary and allowances is something that he makes the point is unfortunate. And he goes on to make the point that the spouses of the president and the vice are not captured in Article 71 as public office holders who should actually deserve this. He went on to make the point that he cannot fathom why the 7th Parliament actually approved the committee's recommendation. And according to him, this seems like an attempt to sneak the first and second ladies into the Article 71 office holder groups. And for him, that is very much problematic. And he again makes the point that he's worried over the pegging of the said salary at the level of cabinet ministers, whether a member of parliament or non-member of parliament. And just to quote this portion of it, he says in his write-up that it's a fact that over the years, successive governments have actually continued the convention of providing some allowances. The practice has actually included some of these payments, but he goes on to say, if government wishes to formalize these allowances, it must bring some form of enabling legislation to back the payments. And he notes that best practice in other democracies do not support the payment of salaries to the spouses of various office holders.
Joseph Opoku, he's our correspondent in Parliament. Thanks so much for the update. But you heard Dr. Draman call you Honorable Member of Parliament.
Well,
how do you take the prophecy?
God is in control.
But thank you for bringing us that update. But President Akufo-Addo also says his government is on course to fulfilling the promises made to Ghanaians when he presented the State of the Nation address early this year. Cutting a tape to formally allow motorists to apply the 4-tier Pokuase interchange on Friday, it was hopeful traffic congestion, which has been the bane of commuters on that route, would be eased. The president argued, unlike previous political parties, the MPP is a better manager of the public purse.
Important to put on record that the original contract design was for a 3-tier interchange. However, through efficient management by my government, the interchange was modified to a 4-tier structure within the same contract sum. Indeed, 289 million United States dollars has been used by the Akufo-Addo government to construct 3 interchanges. That is at Pokuase, Obechebilamte, and Tamale, as opposed to 260 million United States dollars being used by the Mahama government to construct just the Kwame Nkrumah interchange. These are further examples of the fact that we in the New Patriotic Party are good protectors of the public purse.
What's alive on Joy News Prime? We'll take a break. We'll bring you more on Joy News Prime. And still to come, family of one of the casualties in recent disturbances at Ejura Dumasi carry out their planned boycott of the committee probing the deaths.
So we are of the view that we will not appear because our testimonies there will be used against us in the law court. So this is the main reason why we are not appearing before the commission.
There's also an exclusive interview with the brother of the slain activist Ibrahim Kaaka. And in business, a state of emergency. That's how stakeholders in the export and import business describe high shipping charges.
Count all God-given days with no recourse to the legal application smacks of every other thing but fairness. It should be noted that the shipping lines do not work on weekends.
Time now for business. Some stakeholders in the import and export industry have described Ghana's skyrocketing arbitrary shipping charges as a state of emergency. Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders, GIFF, the Ghana Union of Traders Association, and other business bodies say the country will find itself in crisis if the government does not intervene. At a media briefing in Tema, President of GIFF, Edward Akron, itemized some areas that add to the cost of doing business in a country that already relies heavily on imports. Correspondent Kwame Yanka has the rest of the story.
For these stakeholders, inappropriate fees and charges borne by importers, additional charges for use of online payments, coded invoices, among others, frustrate port business. According to Edward Akron, administrative fees, day count charges for container-free days, exchange rate differentials, container deposits, and blacklisting of agents result in high cost of business transaction. Backing his argument, Mr. Akron says Section 44(5) of the Interpretation Act 2009, Act 792 settles the confusion on how days should be counted with respect to container-free days. Although actions of shipping lines contradict the law, Ghana Shippers Authority looks on helplessly. Touching on this, Edward Akron highlights some challenges impeding port business.
What can be the justification for a shipping line agent to begin counting free days for the trader when the box is not at the disposal of the trader's agent? For the shipping lines to intentionally begin the count, sometimes when vessels are at anchorage, when vessels have not fully discharged their cargo, count all God-given days with no recourse to the legal application smacks of every other thing but fairness. It should be noted that the shipping lines do not work on weekends, thus truncating the clearance process, although our ports are operating 24/7.
On his part, President of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, Dr. Joseph Obin, says businesses are losing their capital daily due to these charges. A trader was to pay $15,000 as freight charges for 40-footer container on Tuesday, but this has shot up to $20,000 by Wednesday.
There are a whole lot of illegal charges that is going on the part of the shipping lines, and we think that is a rip-off, and it's even an affront for the Ghanaian shipping community. We have a contract with these shipping lines. We pay freight charges. Embedded in these freight charges are the operational costs. If they have not factored these operational costs, what we are telling government is that they should let them factor all operational costs, and then we pay this offshore before even our goods come. Well, give a continuum piling up all manner of charges, which is not legitimate, is not to be tolerated any longer.
For the business community, any additional charges incurred are passed on to the final consumer, hence raising the cost of living. Kwame Yanke's report for Joy Business.
The African Continental Free Trade Secretariat is hopeful the common currency for West Africa will become reality despite the recent setback to the agenda. The ECO is expected to promote intra-African trade and economic activities among West African economies. There's more in the following report.
Engaging the media on the status of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, Secretary General of the AFCFTA, Wamkele Mene, says the Secretariat has launched the pilot phase of the Pan-African Payment Settlement System to reduce the over-reliance on foreign exchange while trading under the pact.
The transactions are taking place in those 6 countries, and once there has been an assessment of the pilot of the PAPs, as we call it, in these 6 countries, we will then be in a position working with Afreximbank to roll this out to the rest of the African continent. This is a very important development because we have 42 currencies in Africa. The cost of converting currencies to the dollar amounts to $5 billion a year. This is a very, very important this is a very, very big amount of money that can actually be can be seen as revenue forgone, and so we want to reduce and eliminate this cost to converting currencies in Africa for the purpose of trading. And it is the PAPS, the Pan-African Payments and Settlement System, is a very, very important pillar of implementation of the AFCFTA, and we are grateful to Afreximbank for making liquidity available, up to $1 billion available, in order to operationalize the Pan-African Payments and Settlement System.
Wamkele Mene further indicated that AFCFTA Secretariat is hopeful the common currency for West Africa will come off despite the recent setback to the agenda. The ECO is expected to promote intra-African trade and economic activities among West African economies.
The ECO as a single currency And the impact this is going to have on the AfCFTA, well, it will have the similar impact as a payments and settlement platform, because it will address the constraints that are associated with trade, the costs that are associated with trade on the continent, or at least amongst the countries of the ECO. And this is what we want to see. There is an objective that one day Africa will be a monetary union. It is there in the Abuja Treaty as one of the stages of, as the highest stage of Africa's integration. And so I expect that, I don't know when, but Africa one day will have a common currency. People never thought that we would have a free trade area in Africa, and now we have it. And so I am confident that one day the African continent will have a single currency.
The statement also stated that final stages and preparations are underway to launch the AfCFTA adjustment facility to mitigate the possible negative impact on revenues resulting from the implementation of the AfCFTA agreement.
Roads and Highways Minister Kwesi Makola has warned authorities at the Ghana West Municipal Assembly not to issue permits to persons who intend to erect structures along the newly constructed Pokuase interchange. The project, commissioned by President Akufo on Friday, is expected to ease traffic on the road in that vicinity and also improve the livelihood of residents there with the provision of amenities. The residents and motorists have also pledged to assist the Municipal Assembly to properly maintain the road. Hannah Odame was on the stretch and our report.
The road is very nice.
Their joy is full. Residents of Pokuase and users of the Awoshi-Pokuase stretch are particularly happy that they will not have to walk or drive in mud anymore.
It used to be muddy and traffic, but now I'm sure the commuters will enjoy it.
The $289 million four-tier interchange will no doubt ease traffic congestion on the road, even though some motorists are still struggling to maneuver.
It's a bit complicated for us since it's very new.
But the residence engineer has this assurance for such persons.
We perfectly understand them. And that is how come we have engaged the National Road Safety Authority and the police to help guide people and educate them.
Being the first of its kind in Africa and the second in sub-Saharan Africa, construction of the interchange came along with other benefits for the community.
This project also involved the rehabilitation of the Bobiman Women's Group Center to train women in pastry, bread, soap, and bead making. The rehabilitation of the Manchie Gari factory for the processing of cassava into gari and starch. The protection of the 3-hectare Goa sacred forest, and the provision of ICT labs for 14 basic schools, which will help train some 10,000 basic school children within the Ghana North, South, Central, and West municipalities.
The residents are concerned about maintenance.
People for the nation also must do well and maintain the road for us, not to drop the refuse.
There are some trucks that when they overload their goods, it also destroys the road.
But the roads minister have an answer and also warned against theft as well as construction of unapproved structures.
City authorities to make sure that we maintain the greening aspect of this interchange and flora. I would also wish humbly to advise Municipal Assembly not to issue any permit to anybody to erect any structure within this vicinity.
Construction of this interchange was partly funded by the African Development Bank Group. From the newly commissioned Awoshi-Pokuase interchange, I am Hannah Odame for Joy News.
And And I am Aisha Ibrahim here in the studio. Sports is next with Hans.
You're still watching Joy News Prime Time to bring you sports. My name is Hans Mensah Ando. 27 years after winning Ghana's third boxing world title, Ike Quartey says he's the opposite of grace to grass case, as is being suggested across social media. This was triggered by a picture of the 51-year-old which was trending on certain social media platforms. It had to do with his current look, which is a deviation from his regular clean shave.
About what people are speculating about my name. I'm fine with my family. I'm okay. After my retirement, I'm concentrating on my business, taking care of my hospital. I'm not a drug addict. That doesn't mean if I've grown my hair, I'm a drug addict. I don't do that. So those people speculating that I'm a drug addict, I think they should change their mind. I'm not that type.
And it's time now for Showbiz. Rebecca is here.
Rebecca Dakochene. Well, a lot of people don't know that my name is Rebecca.
BB for short.
Yes, Bex for short. So let's talk about your much anticipated interview that will be aired this evening for PM Personality Profile with Diana Hamilton. She's been making lots of revelations in that interview. One of them that stood out for me is her talking about her fears and
her biggest fear or her greatest fear
in life, and I think that you should see this. Come on, it's been playing since one day,
but
and you're still singing.
The interview plays right after this bulletin at 9
yeah.
She's been saying a lot of things, and let me say it was a very interesting conversation I had with her. So you need to stay tuned on the Joy News channel.
Of course, PM
full interview.
PM Personality Profile. Let's move on. Let's talk about Highlife music in Ghana. So the conversation is still on. One person who has added his voice is Dada Hafko. He's actually a Highlife musician, and he's saying that this is the only thing that we have, and so we have to protect it.
Whether the person is a rapper, whether the person is a dancehall artist or what, because that is in our DNA. And every Ghanaian, your DNA, because look, when you even go to Abrochie, those kids who have lived there and having come to Ghana before and all of that, when you go and they are listening to Ghanaian Highlife songs, they sing along. You know why? Because they grew up with it. That is what they grew up with. So everybody in Ghana has the Highlife DNA in them. It is important for us to champion a cause, a single cause that will benefit us as a country, and also in the bigger picture benefit us, going forward. Because when you go somewhere and you are asked, what is the identity of Ghanaian music? It's a big question for anybody. You can't say it. You can't say you are now going to explain yourself. Oh, some do Highlife, others do dancehall, some do hip hop. Others, no, you don't need that. An identity of your music must be one.
Dada Hafko is a Highlife musician and coming through with that. Aisha, that will be all for Showbiz. Have a wonderful weekend. I will try and have a wonderful weekend myself.
And I'm missing you already, baby. You don't do what I wouldn't do, all right?
Of course I won't. PM Personality Profile. Don't miss it for anything in this world.
And that'll be it for Showbiz. That's it for Joy News Prime. For those of you watching on Joy Prime, that'll be it for Prime. But for the news continues on Joy News. But you can log on to myjoyonline.com for more and all the updates of the developing stories. Welcome back to Joy News Prime. To the rest of our stories. Relatives of Murtala Mohammed, one of two persons killed during last week's disturbance at Ejura in the Ashanti region, say they will not appear before the committee probing the death unless they receive an official invitation. The family declined an invitation to appear before the committee Friday and instead addressed a news conference at the precincts of the committee hearing. Brother of the deceased, Alhaji Muhammad Ibrahim, who is also an elder at Ejura, Ejura Dagomba Chief's Palace describes the decision of the committee not to send an official invitation as disrespect to the Dagomba Hene of Ejura. My colleague Parliamentary of our security desk was at the news conference organized by the family.
Has unanimously taken a decision not to appear before the commission. This is our reason. Our reason is so simple and so concise that the commission's mandate was to find out the circumstances that led to the unfortunate shooting of the unarmed civilians. So we are of the view that we will not appear because our testimonies there will be used against us in the law court. So this is the main reason why we are not appearing before the commission. Actually, we are not prolonging issue. Our main reason is that we have our brother, who is Idi Mohammed, in the custody of police. We are of the view that what we are going to do, all our possible best, to get him out of the cell or prison is what we are up to. So we are going to take all the necessary measures we think is the best for us. So we are not prolonging issue. We are going systematically.
And so until ED is released, you are not appearing before the committee?
We don't think it's necessary now. Our main focus now is how we get ED release. And that will be investigation by the police and not by the commission. About the shooting incident, which occurred when we as a family, we were at a funeral ground. So we are not witness to that. So what are we going to say there? Or you ask me how did the shooting happen? I don't have anything to tell you. I don't have anything to tell you. The only thing I can best tell you is that the youth of Ejura don't have confidence in the police.
Family of Ibrahim Mohammed Kaaka has discounted claims their relative was killed because of a family feud. The family insists the 45-year-old man whose death sparked clashes in Ejura, leading to the killing of 2 others, died for his social media activism. The family has since announced they would also not appear before the ministerial committee probing the Ejura clashes. Family spokesperson Nafiu Mohammed tells my colleague Parliamentary of our security desk the late Kaaka, in videos he recorded before his death, named people within the NPP who threatened his life.
A family's perspective, why was Kaaka killed?
So from the family's perspective, we are of the view that his work as a social media activist, that is, help to fix Ejura and help to fix the country. That is why he was killed. That is because we know our brother. People know him as very friendly, jovial. That's why he's called Machumbaki Kaaka. So for him, there is nothing. He has never fought with anybody. For he will tell you that I will not fight you because I don't have the strength to fight. All the strength I have is in my mouth. That's what he will tell you. So we don't see any reason why you should beat him to that extent of killing him. We are of the view is because of his activism. That's why he was killed.
And who might have been angered by his social activism?
So you realize that from some audios he made, when some confrontations were done to him at a particular point when he was taking a shot of a particular project, a school project in Ejura, there were threats to his life that if he don't stop it, he will see.
Threat from who?
From some members of his own party, which is the MPP. So he mentioned in the video, it was mentioned by the other guys who were threatening him, is that they know what they can do. They are telling him that he knows what they can do to him. So he should be very careful. And he is making their party unpopular, and they will find it very difficult run up to the 2024 elections. He will make them suffer when they are on the train of campaign, on which he says that they are not getting understanding. They are not getting proper understanding. He was trying to put the authorities on their toes to do the necessary thing. That was what he told them, but still they did not understand. After that, he went on to do a live video on Facebook to mention that he was attacked, threatened, and there in that video, he mentioned the name of our MC, who he said sent a delegation to him to threaten him. There he mentioned something there which is very interesting to me. He said that if anything should happen to me, don't think it's somebody somewhere. It is because of my social media activism. That's why I am attacked. If you see I'm beaten, it's because of my work. If you see I'm killed, it is because of my what? Social media activism. He mentioned it in that video.
But in that particular video, did he mention names apart from the MCE of people that you sent were members of the delegation that were sent to attack him?
He actually did not mention names of individuals, but he mentioned the name of the MCE, and he dares the MCE to take him to any law court where he will appear and bring his evidences. But up until, that was his last video when he shot before his death. That was his last video when he shot before his death.
The Accra Metropolitan Assembly has commissioned a 7-member committee to investigate circumstances leading to the fire which ravaged 108 shops at Makola Market. The committee is to also assess the integrity of the affected building and recommend if it should be pulled down. It took personnel from the Ghana National Fire Service about 4 days to completely douse the fire. Mayor of Accra, Mohammed Ejura Soa, on Friday led a team to inspect the rubble and officially declared the fire quenched. Manuel Kranteng was there and now reports.
Secretary or coordinating the committee activities as well. So thank you once again. Fire, you can accept the challenge to do the work. You speak to the media and the police.
That's Mayor of Accra, Mohammed Ejura Soa, interacting with a 7-member committee set up to probe events that led to the fire which ravaged this 3-story building facility in the middle of the central business district. Among other things, the committee is expected to establish the cause of the fire, evaluate the extent of damage, and recommend ways of preventing a future occurrence.
Last night, they managed to put off the fire. It's now up to us to investigate the cause of fire and find remedial measures. The Accra Metropolitan Assembly has quickly put together a committee with a mandate of investigating the cause of the fire, to assess the extent of damage, and also assess the integrity of the structure, whether it's fit to be there or has to be pulled down. And they are also supposed to look at any other information which we find it necessary for decision to be taken. They'll be given 1 week to finish with their assignment. The committee comprised of the Ghana Police, represented by a senior policeman from the Regional Police Command, the ECG area manager or engineer is also represented on the committee. Metro NADMO director is on the committee. The Ghana Fire Service, 2 persons from the Ghana Fire Services are on the committee. A senior officer from Ghana Water Company is also on the committee. And finally, you have an officer from the Accra Metropolitan Assembly to coordinate the activities of the committee.
The mayor also mentions that the Assembly, through the Ghana Enterprises Agency, is collecting data of the affected traders who will receive some support from government.
Then to the victims, the
Ministry of Trade and Industry, through the Ghana Enterprise Agency, have initiated the process of registering and assessing the extent of damage of words of the victims. NADMO has collected primary data and they have shared with that agency. The agency is also doing a double assessment of their words. And as pledged by the Minister for Trade and Industry, Honorable Alan Chamanten, on behalf of government, assistance will be provided to them.
But for the Ghana Union of Traders Association, government must take urgent action to employ the use of satellite markets to decongest already existing markets within the city.
Going forward, we think that we all have to help the mayor to decongest the city. And that's the bane, that's the problem of all this. And then the government should also take pragmatic steps to help to build satellite markets so that it will go a long way to decongest any open space around. Rollins Park is lying there idle. We should be able to fund money as early as possible. The way we've built the KJTR market should be done, should be replicated here so that it can consume more of the trading habitation.
Two sides of the same street. To my left, there's brisk trading activities by most of the market women here at Makola. People are buying and people are selling. To my right, it's a totally different picture as victims of Monday's fire are still counting their losses with firemen and women on the ground. For now, though, they are pleading for government support to be able to get back on their feet. From here in the Central Business District, my name is Manuel Quarantine for Joy News.
The Police Motor Traffic and Transport Department and Driver Vehicle and Licensing Authority have started what they say will be mobile snap checks on the country's roads to ensure motorists are complying with road traffic regulations. The team at one of the snap checks at Haudome Friday morning made several arrests of motorists who were driving vehicles with tinted windows, embellished number plates and fake licenses. With the use of technology, the officials were also able to spot vehicles with fake insurance tickets who were then processed for court. My colleague Jedita Wachitando joined the team and now reports.
I'm right. I understood it, I'm wrong.
So are you ready to bear the consequences? Because you are aware and you are still...
So I'm telling you that this is something new that just happened. And this world, now in Ghana, things are very hard, I won't lie to you.
So we are standing currently at the Wudome roundabout where the police MTTD as well as the DVLA have been clamping down cars with fake or embellished number plates. Now apart from that, other traffic offences such as fake licenses as well as the use of tinted glasses are also being checked.
Some of the drivers, however, argued with officials.
Yes or no? Okay. It means so are you ready to face the consequences of that? Oh. Driving with an expired DP. Bro. Yes, we are processing you for court for driving with an expired DP. Oh, grab penny. Okay. Grab penny. MY. It's as simple as that. We are processing him for court for driving with an expired DP. Yes. Originally, we work with alphabet. January was A. So he is having C, that is March, and we are now in July. So we are now in E, whilst he is still using C, which is March. Yes, so there's a need for us to process him for court.
One of the key offences was the embellishment of the vehicle number plates, contrary to the road traffic regulations, which the Director of Driver Testing, Training and Licensing, Joseph Obosu, explains presents a security threat.
Yeah, of late, we have seen that people are actually altering the number plates with colors, and it is against the law. It's a security threat also. And it's also obscure the number plates. And that is exactly what we are here to announce to the general public, that those who are adding colors to the number plate that we have handed over to them, they should desist of doing that. Else, when we get hold of them, we will process them to court.
In situations where the officials could, they removed the films on tinted windows. Mr. Obosu further explained the law requires that occupants of vehicles in motion be seen.
It has to be seen, You see, and in the night, tinted, is it front or the side?
No, the side.
The side, yeah. The law says it has to be seen.
The driver must be seen.
Must be seen. Okay. You see? So when you tinted it, it means that you have a secret agenda of which you want to. So when you get hold of, you have to. Yeah, it is by law required. You shouldn't tint your windscreen or that of the door glasses.
He advised motorists to ensure they comply with the road traffic regulations to avoid offending the law.
About 61 vehicles have been apprehended with various road traffic offenses. To some, they have not faced their roadworthy sticker. To some also, they are using fake license. To some also, they are using fake roadworthy certificates. And to some also, the seating arrangement is very poor. We gave them 19 seats, but they have fitted 23 seats, which is an offense. So I think so far so good. We have also apprehended a number of vehicles which have been cars which they have tinted the windscreens and the door glass, which is also an offense. We are pleading to the general public that they should desist from doing that. Anytime that we get hold of them, we will process them to courts.
Judith Awotretando, Joy News.
Many commercial vehicles at the Teshie Mobile Station here in Accra are rickety. Some vehicles are so badly rusted that passengers say protrusions jutting out of the vehicles often cut them, leading to injuries. Though the drivers acknowledge the problem, they say they do not have the funds to repair the vehicles, adding bad roads also contribute to the poor state of the vehicles. There's more in the following report.
In Ghana, the key means of transport is commercial vehicles, popularly known as trotro. These vehicles account for 60% of passenger movement. For some time now, we've witnessed the proliferation of rickety cars on the roads. Drivers at Teshie explain reasons behind the use of such cars.
Initially, when the roads were bad, the car owners invested their money in its repairs. As the roads were asphalted, they relaxed because they now think they have better roads. Initially, we were blaming the roads for the poor conditions of our cars. And also, whenever there is an increment in fares, the passengers refuse to pay the fixed amount. If you complain, they rain insults on you. The whole Teshie, no driver takes 1 Ghana cedis or 80 pesos as transportation fare. Most of our monies go into fuel. I'm aware that our cars are old and even older than myself. So we are appealing to the government to give out new cars on credit so we work and pay. I feel bad when driving the car, but I need to fend for myself and my family. As drivers, we also pay a lot of taxes.
But this time around,
initially, it was about our roads. Even though the roads have been fixed, other roads are still in bad conditions. However, we do maintenance. This particular car has been sprayed once. Passengers should be patient with us whenever fares are increased. Our car owners are not really bothered about the state of the cars since they are able to make their sales. So passengers should comply when there's increment in fares so that we can use some of the money earned to repair the cars.
Passengers say kefe obi ene lorry fare amnya mi ni amnya mepe ona amnya mepe scan wo bo na kefe wo small wo fare ochone mi ni for hand on.
Some passengers said using rickety vehicles are uncomfortable, but they have limited choices.
Another time, it was my son who got injured in one of the cars, and the only thing the bus conductor could tell me was to take him to the health center. So that became my headache. I want the authorities to clear all the old cars off the roads since the drivers refuse to go for body works. So I will say that when the drivers have issues with their cars, they should do well to repair.
Magazine. If we Kaswan Eba, Kayam Foyer, you be see near Saint Pierre. Ain't he? I drove a 4 car no say, how be back why I move and call my Z. Na Munquas son and near man of the apron was a son.
See, not they are saying, now, Sebi, it's never a bit proud, at least.
The drivers should repair the cars for them to be accommodating, and the ones that are very old should be discarded, especially the cars that are in worse conditions. The drivers should try and cover rusted seats. Whenever we are in these cars, we don't feel comfortable. To the best of my knowledge, as a driver, you need to make checks on your car to ensure that they are in a good condition before setting off to work. The drivers can only apologize when we get hit by these cars. The car owners should always repair the cars when they are not in good shape. They should consider the lives of the drivers, passengers, and bus conductors.
I was an open piano. Check your car now, Musacano, a Gine, and some of my car. I am wondering drivers now because driver not the quite more this car, bro. And also dream driver no count, not be passengers near Gumuno, and so on.
Majority Leader Alexander Fenyomakins will chair a 9-member parliamentary committee that will probe the government's contract to purchase Sputnik V vaccines from Russia. The committee will have 4 NDC members and 5 NPP members. Ranking member on Parliament's Health Committee, Kwabena Mensah Kando, will be vice chair of the committee, with NDC MPs Bernard Ahiafo, NS Nogbe, and Elizabeth Ofosu-Ejari as members. The other members are MPP MPs Dr. Ayu Efriye, Kwame Enyimedu Entry, Sheila Patels, Farouk Aliu Mahama. Majority Leader Seche Mensah Bonsu says the terms of reference of the committee will include determining whether the agreements were legal and whether the health minister misled Parliament.
1, to determine whether or not the transaction with respect to the procurement and supply of the Sputnik V vaccines between the government of Ghana, represented by the Ministry of Health, MOH, and Macton and SL Global, qualifies as an international business or economic transaction under Article 1815 of the Constitution, and if so, whether it was subjected to prior approval by Parliament. 2, to determine the procurement process that was followed and the propriety of same. 3, to determine the services of a middleman, to determine whether the services of a middleman was procured in the transaction, and if so, the propriety of same, having regard to the relevant laws. 4, to ascertain the cost of the vaccine, the justification of the cost of the vaccine, and whether the transaction guarantees value for money for Ghana. 5, to determine whether or not any consideration has passed from the government of the Republic of Ghana to the middleman. 6, that is in respect of the transaction. 6, to determine whether or not the Minister of Health misled Parliament during the consideration of the transaction for the procurement of the vaccine. And 7, to inquire into any other matters connected with the purchase and supply of the Sputnik V vaccine in the agreement between the government of Ghana and Macton and SL Global. Speaker, the committee is directed to submit a report of findings and conclusions for the consideration and necessary action by Parliament within 3 weeks.
Minority Chief Whip Muntaka Mubarak is protesting the composition, insisting it should have had an equal number of NPP and NDC MPs.
this House, we have always set up committees based on the strength of the caucuses. So, Speaker, even where you use 138, check, just pick your calculator and check. The strength is 50.08. 137 gives you 49.82. And we've always run them to the nearest whole number. That gives you 50-50. That is why on the Health Committee, 20 members, you have 10-10. On the Energy Committee, 18, you have 9-9. On the Appointment Committee, you have 26, you have 13-13. It is only when the committee is 25 that we said that because of the, what do you call it, you cannot split one. So let that one go to the majority. And even in the meeting, we discussed and we're even saying that, can we even alternate them? Because at the end of the day, when you lump all the committees and you strike the difference, it's supposed to arrive at the 50-50. So if you are setting up a committee, we are saying that set up an 8-member committee to reflect the strength of the caucus. This is a view you have to also listen to us. But if you say that, oh, it is +1, the +1 makes it 138. It doesn't make it add 1 to the other district. It only makes it 138 and 137. So if you are saying that let's use an odd number, you can make argument for that. That let's use an odd number, and because of the odd number, maybe it should be 9 or 11 or 7, and therefore this is how it's going to be. But if it's on the basis of the strength of the caucus, you are supposed to set up a committee that will always be equal in strength.
So a lot has been happening in Ejura, including the boycott of the committee probing the death of Kaaka by his family. The ministerial committee probing the disturbances in Ejura heard from one of the affected families. Ohime, our man on the ground, now joins us with more on what has been happening. Ohime, what more can you tell us about happenings in Ejura? Ohime, you would have to unmute for me.
Ohime, yes, Aisha, the committee was scheduled to start proceedings at 10 a.m. today, but that did not happen because according to officials of the committee, they had to wait for some witnesses to come from Ejura, and because they delayed in reporting at the committee, that actually affected the work of the committee until they started at 11:30 a.m. And then at that sitting, Madam Agatha Dunyina, a trader at Ejura, appeared before the committee and testified that her son, 20-year-old Ayepa Louis, was hit by a stray bullet even at the time that he was entering a drugstore in Ejura. She claimed her son was not part of the demonstrators, but later when word got to her that her son has been hit by a bullet, she rushed to the Ejura Government Hospital and saw her son being attended to by medical staff on duty at that particular facility. So the doctors, after taking some x-rays, had to refer the son to Confanochi Hospital. And just this week, she said her son has undergone surgery to allow doctors work on her son's intestines, which were affected by live bullets. And she told the committee that the son is scheduled to go for another procedure at the facility to fill spaces or wounds created by the bullet. And so the committee assured her that they will do everything within their powers to recommend to the authorities that be to attend to the issues as quick as possible. Then we had a second witness. The second witness, journalists were not allowed to participate in this particular testimony from the second witness. But later, chairman of the committee told journalists that he is actually a gentleman who testified before the committee, and his account, the information that he gave to the committee, will be taken into consideration and it will be part of the committee's work. So on that particular note, he announced the adjournment of a sitting till Monday at 10 a.m. Today, the committee was scheduled to take testimony from Colonel Francis Ifa, after retired, the Ashanti Regional Security Coordinator, but he did not appear. The chairman also announced that there are other witnesses when, if the committee was to go ahead and wait for them, it will waste everybody's time. So he announced proceedings to come to a close. So the committee says on Monday.
We are also hearing that the family of Murtala Mohammed boycotted the proceedings today. What have they been telling you? Ibrahim, you have to unmute for me.
Yes, Murtala Mohammed is the second person to be killed in the Ejura following the clashes. And the family, we were told he actually comes from the house of the Dagomba chief in Ejura. So the family expressed some misgivings about the work of the committee. For instance, they say the committee has not officially written to the Dagomba chief and his relatives or family to come and testify before the committee. So it's just an open invitation that is extended to everybody in Ejura. But they feel, disrespected because according to them, the Dagomba chief is not any meaner person than he's a traditional leader. So they expect the committee to accord him some sort of respect by writing to the family officially to invite them. And they say until they receive official, written notice or invite from the committee, pass.
All right, so Ohementeria there, my colleague, following the Ejura disturbances. Let's look at what the family of Murtala Mohammed have been saying, reasons they boycotted the proceedings.
Yeah, ye kun ye nuano, ana ye ba, ana ye dishie no. Se committee ye hiya ya. E was se we krata se mi hiamo. Ana se ya ye wo e hawmo, ana se ye wo oya omo no. E was se committee ye den etu anamo ebra se wo nya bibi e wo ye nchen ya. E was se committee ye den etu anamo bra ye nchen. What you say? Se wo di kan ba ye, ana se wo ba ye no. Ene enim die so, ene wo di krata e ma ye se, nana de gomba hene. Ye be hia wo e wo Kumasi. Ana ye be hia wo e wo Nkran, and that say. Na sanana de gomba hene etifie na wote wo social media say ana wote wa afidie say committee ehia no a wo ye on hene at the first time wo ye panyini ono na wo yawo mo na wasore akọ me pa mo chow bibi say asi bebre e wo Ghana ha ye fix committee ansana peace council no say dem e wo ho bebre asi at the end no unhu results bia wo at the end no unti information bia enti wenu ye pese mani nko ye ti se di atwam no bi.
Ohementeria joins us back via Zoom. Ohemen, kindly translate what he said for us. Ohemen, unmute for me.
So Aisha, this is the family spokesperson, Haji Mohammed Ibrahim, who is also an elder at the Zongo Dagomba.
Okay, so Ohemen was trying to explain what the man was saying, that they've not received official invitation to be part of the investigations by the public commission, the Commission of Inquiry probing Kaaka's death. And if we get Ohemen back, we'll try and find out if the commission has explained, the committee has explained why they've not served official notice to the family of Murtala Mohammed to appear before them. But procedures in preparation for the surgery to separate the Bansa twins conjoined at the head have begun. It will be the first time such a complex surgery will be conducted in Ghana. There's more in the following report.
The Bansa Siamese twins have gone through a specialized MRI scan conducted in preparation for the first phase of their separation surgery. The twins are the first in Ghana to be born conjoined at the head, and doctors at the Greater Accra Regional Hospital are gearing up to perform a series of complicated procedures over a period of 12 to 18 months to separate the twins. This most recent test is a specialized MRI scan that has never been done in Ghana. Senior radiographer at the Greater Accra Regional Hospital, Doreen Na Jama Odote, is the only Ghanaian technician who had ever observed this test being conducted anywhere in the world. She said the procedure was a success, but it wasn't easy.
When it comes to our maiden diffusion tensor image, we also realized that we had a challenge there when it came to the scanning protocol. Again, we had to modify the scanning protocol to ensure that we could get these images. Now, if you turn your attention to our screen, we have the diffusion tensor images which we achieved today. And basically, from this image here, that's on your upper right quadrant, you realize that we can see the fibers in baby 1's brain. So this clearly tells us that baby 1 has his brain fibers going in that particular direction. So we realize baby 1 is the one below and baby 2 is the one above. So we realize that here in baby 2 we have his brain fibers shooting to the other direction. So basically this kind of imaging, or the diffusion tensor imaging, shows us the direction of the baby's brain tissue, and also it helps the surgeons because they now know where it would be safe to enter or not to enter, so as not to, as it were, paralyze or cause more harm to these babies. This will also help us to, or the whole Craniophagos team, to fabricate the models which will be needed during the practice leading towards the surgery. So despite the challenges that were faced today in our scan, the scan did come out successfully.
Top neurosurgeon and team leader on the case, Dr. Kaaba, explained that this test was hitherto considered unfeasible. He also explained why the successful completion of the procedure was good news, not only for the twins, but for all Ghanaians.
This test that we have done today is extremely important, not only for the kids, but for people who have brain tumors, stroke, and other neurological diseases, even heart diseases and many others. It actually allows us to see the tracks in the brain, to know exactly where we are, what to touch and what not to touch, what is affected and what is not affected. So it gives us a detailed view of what is happening or what has happened to the brain. And regarding the twins, it will actually help us to have a more detailed study of their anatomy to be able to plan for a successful surgery. I must say that until we received them, we didn't know that this test could be done in Ghana. And it's the first time we are having it done in Ghana and in the sub-region. We didn't know that the technician could do it until we started asking, who can help us with this? Who can help us with this? Everybody is saying, our machine doesn't have this, our machine doesn't have this, and we got to know that the Rich Hospital machine has it. And the technician in Rich has done it before. And that by itself is a great, great relief when it comes to the diagnosis and treatment of other diseases, including heart, brain, and spinal cord, and other organs.
We'll take a break on Joy News Prime. We'll bring you business shortly. Welcome back From that break to some business, the Ghana Domain Name Registry under the Ministry of Communication has urged the Bank of Ghana to consult the registry if it wants a positive outcome on the use of cryptocurrency. Speaking at the launch of the Ghana Internet Governance Forum 2021, spearheaded by the registry chairperson for the steering committee, Nana Kofi Edu, said that central bank needs a representative at IGF to better explain to the public the integration of electronic currencies in banking.
The Ghana Domain Name Registry under the Ministry of Communication is calling on the Bank of Ghana to have a discussion on cryptocurrency in the country. According to the chairperson of the Ghana Internet Governance Forum Steering Committee, Nana Kofi Edu, it will be beneficial if the central bank gets a representation at the forum to enable progress in the incorporation of cryptocurrency in transactions.
The Bank of Ghana, they have announced that there's going to be an ECD. And this is why I would like the Bank of Ghana to have representation at the IGF. So people can say, what is this ECD? What technology is it going to run on? And what are the things that the bank is going to allow people to use? These discussions need to be had now because the technology is far ahead of where we are now. It's like when the internet first came, people were doing all kinds of things on the internet. It doesn't mean that because there's certain dangerous aspects of it, we should close our eyes and not have the discussion.
Coordinator of Youth Internet Governance Forum, Lily Bochwe, says IGF is the best medium to help Ghana to be better positioned in an agile world.
Modern economies are transferring or transforming from agricultural and industrial economies to information and knowledge-based economies. And such rapid transformations has had a significant impact on the social, economic, and political development across the world. The rapidly advancing information and communication technology help in addressing social and economic problems and offer opportunities for learning, skill, and career development. It is hence necessary to be well positioned as a nation to partake and leverage these tools for growth.
President of Internet Society Ghana chapter Francis Akwa Amenin made a call to the public to take advantage of the forum, especially during this pandemic as COVID-19 has heightened the importance of digitization.
During the pandemic, we all thought the internet was going to break, but the internet has proven very resilient and useful. So that means we have to find a way to cope with the situation. So our main action plan for 2021 for the Internet Society is empowering everyone to create a stronger internet. That means it's a collective effort for every one of us. On this note, I'm inviting everyone to the 2021 Internet Governance Forum. Let's all come together, work together to make this forum stronger.
Coordinator of Ghana School of Internet Governance, Kweku Entry, highlighted some benefits of the Ghana Internet Governance Forum 2021.
One of the good things about this year is that we are looking at the theme of the evolution of our internet ecosystem in Ghana. And what we're trying to come out this year is also to institute a skills program. So we're going to have the plenary session, we're going to have workshops which are going to bring persons across from the industry where we are looking to instill skills which are practicable, which will be given to people who will be able to go out there and create a positive impact.
This year's forum is on the theme, Fostering Digital Inclusion in Ghana, the Role of Public and Private Actions.
Knowledge about genetically modified food and biotechnology is low among the Ghanaian public due to low levels of education and awareness. Studies have warned that Ghana could lose millions of cedis if there is delay in the introduction of some genetically modified foods. Emma Davis in this report explores the myths surrounding genetically modified organisms and how that is affecting public perception in this report.
2012.
Okay.
And they are being under research. I know they are at the point of release. So the CSIR has to come to the Biosafety Authority, pick the form for the release, submit it, and then we take it through risk assessment. But most importantly, public assessment, consultation. Okay. The public must make input. So when we get such information, we put it in the public domain. We advertise it, we gazette it, we advertise for the public to come for copies and make input. So in deciding, the board would look at the application, the information in the application, the public input, socio-economic consideration, so, and then risk assessment.
Okay.
So it's a process. They are not out yet.
But then it's been 3 years. Isn't that long enough for a time to complete this process?
As a biosafety authority, we will not look at it that way, because it's as and when an applicant comes in.
Okay.
So if the applicant comes, yes, we will look at it. Until they come, we are waiting.
So we don't have any genetically modified organisms on the market yet?
As far as we know, no.
Could the fact be that there are groups against GMOs? That is why there's also a bit of delay?
Yes, that could be. Yes, you are right, because before these structures were put in place, or while they were being put in place, there is our friend on the other side. Let me put it on record that in biosafety, we don't speak for. Even though we are the regulators, so we don't speak for. We don't speak against. We are friends to those who speak against. We listen to them. We are friends to those who speak for. We listen to them. And then we put it together and we make a decision. But you will bear me out that a lot of information has gone out there, a lot. Whether they are scientifically they sound or not, we are yet to tell. But basically, most of the information we hear are not scientifically sound. Okay. But that is what has entered into the minds of the people, and some kind of fear has been created in the minds of the people. And so something that all stakeholders involved should work on, And I will also say that any message that anybody who claims to understand the system releases out there should be scientifically sound.
Time now to take you around the world for some business updates. And that's it for business. Sports is next with Hans Mensah.
Welcome back to Sports and Joy News Prime. My name is Hans Mensah. The top bodybuilders in the country are gearing up for this year's Waba Hercules Olympia, which comes off on July 24 in Perugia, Italy. My colleague Asari Bediako was at the team's gym last night and comes through with his report.
Michael Panel, Bright Holdbrook, Adam Mohammed, Arnold Benzo, and Jeffrey Anansam are poised for action ahead of this year's Waba Hercules Olympia. This is the second time Ghana is competing at the event. Michael Panel, a two-time bodybuilding champion, is looking forward to the event.
This year is going to be much more exciting because whatever is there to win, 100% we're going to bring it home, straight to Ghana. So whatever is there to win, come on Ghanaians, expect us. We're bringing it home. That's what we're about.
The reigning Mr. Ghana, Adam Mohammed, is unfazed by the huge challenge ahead.
I've never been scared. Even for my first time on stage, I never been scared for anything, but you know, we are still looking to do our best. We will give our best to bring something better to this country.
Victor Baden, president of WABA Ghana, is confident the team will impress in Italy.
You know, as has always been, you know, we have tried really well to psych these guys up. You know, we have prepared them mentally, physically, emotionally. Every aspect, every facet of bodybuilding, they have or they understand now. They have all the tools at this present moment in time. We've got guys in 3 different categories: the bodybuilding category, the men's physique category, and then the classic physique category as well. And they are all phenomenal champions. These guys they are all accomplished bodybuilders here in Ghana. And like I said, we've never seen them the way they look now compared to previous.
Mega David, board member of WABA Ghana, has encouraged women to get into bodybuilding.
Yeah, a lot of females in Ghana here, you know, having different mentality about bodybuilding. So I'm still in to campaign about that, and I'm going to regions to talk to them, for them to understand bodybuilding, for them to know how they also going to get much things in bodybuilding.
This year's WABA Hercules Olympia comes off on July 24 at the Central Congresso Hotel in Perugia, Italy.
Now, the management of Real Tamale United Sporting Club, RTU, in the Northern region has expressed surprise at the decision of the Disciplinary Committee of the Ghana Football Association to award 3 points and 3 goals to Bofoakotano in their game against Unity FC in their Week 22 match at Kenyasi. Martina Bugri has more in this report.
Addressing a press conference in Tamale, the General Secretary of RTU, Alhaji George Mutaokilo, wondered why the GFA had to wait until this time when RTU is recovering from attacks on its supporters following their match in Sunyani to announce its decision.
It has come to the notice of the management of Real Tamale United, the darling club of the North, that the disciplinary committee of the GFA has awarded 3 points, 3 goals to Bofoakotano during their match dated May 3rd, 2021 at Kenyasi with Unity FC. Much as we are not challenging this decision, we feel dismayed, stabbed and taken aback by such a decision at no less a time than now. Recalling current hydra-headed problems emanating from protests by clubs and various media reports, we feel hurt, stabbed in the back for this unexpected outcome after the former was charged a fee of 10,000 Ghana cedis.
That's it for sport. You can read more at myjoyonline.com/sports. My name is Hans Mensando. Go on, have a lovely weekend. Aisha wraps up the news.
And that's how we wrap up the bulletin tonight. My name is Ibrahim. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com. There's more of the updates of the developing stories. PM Express personality profile is up next. Do enjoy the rest of our programs.